Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. And today I've been joined by a bit of a special guest, an old friend, to celebrate a special occasion, because I can't believe it has been 5 years since I purchased this Rolex Submariner, reference 114060 Submariner. No date, in, when was it? It was the 16th of August 2019. So as I filmed this, almost exactly 5 years ago. I can't believe that half a decade has passed. It seems like just the other day that I tripped out of the store with this watch on my wrist, thinking that I was a very lucky fellow to have been able to get one at the authorized dealer at the retail price at the time. So it's been quite a journey and it's been quite a good one. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the history of the Submariner. There are multiple videos which will tell you that. Suffice to say, the Submariner has been around since the 1950s, when Rolex introduced it, and it kind of heralded a new era of sports professional watches to the world. This is the watch which started the public fascination with dive watches, which persists to the current day. And I don't think it's going away anytime soon. So we can thank Rolex and the Submariner for all that. And with good reason. It's a pretty good watch, and it always has been. It holds a place in the pantheon of wristwatches, I think, which is unique. It has been the poster boy of Rolex for a very long time. This has been probably up there with the Datejust as one of their longest serving watches in the catalogue, but also a watch which has created the most historical presence in the horological world since the, 70 or so years since this watch has been around. So it's got a lot to answer for. It's been very important, and it's still deeply desirable, and at this point in time really quite hard to get. However, this model, the 114060 Submariner, so no date, it hasn't got a date on it, has been around since 2012 when it was introduced back then on this new, what they call the super case, or a chunkier, more beefier case than had previously been seen on this model. This watch has now been superseded. In 2020, Rolex brought out the revised version of this, which is the 124060, which in practical terms looks very similar. It's got slightly different lugs, slimmed down ever so slightly. Of course, inside it's different. The new model has a 70-hour power reserve, opposed to this one, which has a 48-hour power reserve. Otherwise, you wouldn't know much different. The bracelet is slightly wider on the new model, and the case is 1 millimeter larger, whereas this is 40 millimeters, the new one is 41. So the wearing experience is going to be very similar, if not identical. And I have owned this watch for quite some time. So I am going now to give you a little tour around the watch so you know what it actually looks like. Okay, so here's the watch. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. We all know what a Submariner looks like, but the important point is stainless steel case, and the stainless steel has held up well over the last 5 years. I mean, of course, there are many scratches in there. I've taken this watch on quite a life journey with me, particularly the clasp, as you can see. But I think it still looks pretty damn good, actually, for a 5-year watch, which has, been shown the tasks of life. Nice ceramic bezel, still holding up well. No marks, scratches, fading, as you would expect. So it's looking good. That dial itself, the hour markers, still highly beautiful to look at. Easy to see at night when the luminescence glows. The bezel, not that I use it in any regularity for its intended purpose, but yeah, still got that beautiful movement, clicking sound. You can feel, it all works perfectly after 5 years. Looks rather good. The bracelet obviously shows some signs of wear, but not too much. The clasp probably shows most of the signs of wear, because I do not baby this watch. I genuinely wear it as I would wear any other watch. And it does stand up well. I mean, it's got lots of marks on it, but the truth is, you would expect that, wouldn't you? and 300 meter water resistant, 1,000 feet. It's as capable as I am ever going to need. Okay, that is a quick run around the watch. Not much has changed, I've got to say. If I went back and looked at my initial video of this watch, and then I think I did one a year after, a year on the wrist, hardly anything has changed. I do wear the watch fairly regularly, in rotation. I've got a number of watches, like many people like myself, but not that many. So it does see fairly regular use. And I do enjoy it, I've got to say, when you snap it on. The high points for me of this watch are its extreme wearability. All right, it always fits well because of that glide lock clasp, which you can easily adjust to fit any wrist size on the go. Takes a second to do. I do not understand why Rolex have not employed this on pretty much all of their watches. It is so much better than trying to find the right fit by twiddling around with various things. Fits so well. It sits easily on the wrist. Now, for reference, I have a 6.5 inch wrist. I am a medium-sized person, all right? So this watch fits snugly and nicely on my wrist size. I think it would fit people down to a 6-inch wrist. Below that, I'd say you probably want to try it on to see if it's going to fit you nicely. Above 6.5 inches, you know, no problem at all. It depends on how big your wrist is. If you're a big giant of a guy with an 8-inch wrist, it's probably going to fit you equally as well. That 40mm size on this model is a really nice and satisfying size on anyone's wrist. It allows the watch, and it sits quite low and squat on the wrist. It doesn't sit loud, high and prominent. It allows it to slide easily under even the cuff of a nicely fitted shirt. And that's important because you want a watch which is versatile. And I like the Submariner in so much as, because James Bond wore it with a dinner jacket and he wore it in movies with smart clothing in the earlier days with Connery and Moore, it kind of opened the floodgates for people to wear sporty diving watches with everything. So you could wear this watch with a 3-piece suit, or you could wear this watch with a swimsuit. And I have done both, and it has fitted in equally well. So the versatility is there. I still think that's the case today after wearing it all this time. It's clean and it's symmetrical. I particularly like the fact that it doesn't have a date on it, right? That date magnifier on Rolex watches is a bit of a bugbear to me. I know it is one of the iconic parts of the Rolex watch, but it is unattractive. And functionally, it does make it difficult to read the time each and every hour for about 5 to 7 minutes because, you know, the hands are obscured by that date magnifier. So there we go. Just my view. Others will disagree, I know. Accuracy over 5 years. I can honestly say I don't time this watch on any sort of time grapher or anything, and I don't keep records of its accuracy. I'm kind of an ordinary watch user. I don't go to that extent. But what I would say is that there has been no appreciable sort of up or down on the accuracy level in the 5 years I've owned it. It seems to keep good time. That's all I'm interested in, right? I am not timing an egg to the last second, so it works perfectly for me. The highlight, as I say, is the bracelet and the look of the watch. When I think back about the journey I've had with this watch, I bought it from the authorised dealer at the retail price, £5,750. These days, it's worth a lot more than that if you were to buy a brand new Submariner. The prices have risen at the point of purchase. Now, when I bought this watch 5 short years ago, I walked into the authorised dealer, a small independent jewellery store, which was an authorised dealer in the city of Bath here in England. And I previously bought one watch in that store, and it was a lady Datejust, 31mm Datejust for my wife. So I had no appreciable history with that authorised dealer. And I asked them, could I have a Submariner? Now, the sales agent said to me, they're becoming quite hard to find 5 years ago. Becoming quite hard to find. However, because you want a Submariner and not a Submariner date, it'll be a little easier. And because you've just bought a watch for your wife, I can see you're a decent fellow. I'll see if I can get one for you. I walked away thinking, oh well, I hear that they're hard to come by. It might take a while. 5 weeks later, I get a phone call. Come and pick it up. So a little over a month later, I trip along and I collect this watch. Now, incidentally, just to show you how things have changed, after I placed this order with this authorised dealer, I went to another authorised dealer and said, I quite fancy one of these Submariners. Can you help me out? And he said, yeah, I'll give it a try. I said, I'll either have a date or a non-date, depending on which comes in first. He said, no problem, sir. A week after I collected this one, so 6 weeks after I'd contacted that second authorised dealer, whom I'd never bought a watch with, I think, he rang me up and said, I've got a no-date Submariner for you. Do you want it? And I said, nah, sorry, I've just bought one. A week after that, the same guy rings me up, clearly forgotten he'd rung me the week before, and said, hello, sir, I've got a Submariner date, different model. Do you want it? I said, nah, I've just bought one. We spoke last week, remember? And he said, oh yeah, of course. Sorry, another one's come in. If you don't want it, you don't want it. Fair enough. So within the space of 6 or 7 weeks, I'd been offered 3 Submariners. 2 Submariners, 1 Submariner date. Shows how things have changed. And I declined 2 of them. What a fool I was. Should have bought them all, made a bit of money, but I didn't. I bought mine for 5,750 quid, and I've been happy with it since that time. So functionally, I've worn it consistently, regularly, and in all walks of life. I do not baby my watches. I wear them as they're intended. They are stainless steel sports watches. All right, I am not worried. Here, there. People will say, oh, you're a monster, you're damaging a watch. No, I'm not. It's stainless steel. It is really robust. You can do what you like with them, let's be honest. They are not intended as fancy dress watches. I've worn mine in the water hundreds of times. I have worn it bushcrafting in the woods, chopping down trees, doing everything. And the watch has coped ably. Do not think these are special watches. They're just ordinary, everyday, functional, tough, rugged, robust watches. And that is why I've bought mine. And that is how I have worn it. I also appreciate the fact I can slip into nicer clothes and the watch still looks fairly decent. It's not a dress watch. You shouldn't be wearing it with a dinner jacket or a tuxedo, whatever you want to call that. But you can if you really have to. So it's good to know that. Value retention is also something which is important for some people. And I will mention that, even though it makes little difference to me, because I don't intend to sell this watch. But as I say, I paid £5,750 for it. Should I try and sell it today, done a bit of research, I could probably sell it for around about £7,000. So it's kind of tracked quite nicely. It's not, making me any large amount of money. It's not making me a loss. That's kind of where I want to be. I went and had a look at watch stats, which gives you a fairly good idea of how much watches are going for these days. I also looked at Chrono24, so a reselling site, and they are shifting for about 7,000 to 8,000 quid. So not bad. It's nice to know that should I need to get out of the watch in a hurry, I can probably make a little bit of money out of it from my original purchase. Actually though, you will note, if you look at the charts, that Rolex watches are definitely on a downward trajectory. And there's good reason for that. There's the economy in the world changing in different parts of the world. The biggest thing of all, I think, is the Rolex brand itself. It has lost some of its luster. The false scarcity impression of the brand in the pandemic period is now long gone. Here in the UK, I know personally of people in my local proximity, in my village, who have been offered what were considered highly desirable Rolex sports watches, and they've declined because that Rolex shine has gone. And those watches are now appearing in the windows of authorised dealers here in this country. I've personally been offered a Rolex Explorer within the last few months that I put my name on the list for a few years ago, and I said no thanks. I've bought one and sold one since they offered me one. So to be honest, the brand is changing. Its appeal to the masses. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure Rolex is going to be the market dominant brand for some time. But as they increase production and as the world economy changes, and there's a slight scent of toxicity around the brand, the fact that they've massaged public opinion and thoughts around them and made them artificially scarce so that people who want them couldn't get one, it's kind of left a bad taste in many people's mouth, myself included. I very much doubt I would ever buy a Rolex again unless something came out which really appealed to me. I'm happy with what I've got, but I certainly wouldn't be trading it in for anything new anytime soon. But value retention is important to people. And even though the brand is becoming much more accessible and prices are dropping off a cliff, so I feel sorry for you if you've invested in these watches hoping that they're going to be part of a pension for you. But the truth is, even the good models are now just barely breaking even if you want to sell them. So it's good to know you can do that, but it's not the end of the world. Now, my overall thoughts after 5 years. I've really enjoyed sharing my life with this Rolex Submariner 114060. It has been on my wrist at pivotal periods of my life. Earlier this year, I went diving off the coast of Oman with whale sharks, and this watch was on my wrist. In the Arabian Sea, I've been snorkeling with sea turtles, and this watch was on my wrist. My family were there with me, and the watch, I remember being under there looking at the time to see how much longer we had left on the dive and things like that. And that is what resonates. The watch itself, yes, it's a functional, good quality dive watch, which is probably a little bit more expensive than you need to pay to get a good quality, functional dive watch. But the Rolex brand still does carry an element of cachet, and the Submariner within the brand, I think, still is one of, the big three with the Daytona and the GMT model. It is one of the flag bearers for Rolex. And as a result, it is a watch which I have enjoyed wearing. It's been with me through key moments of my life. Half a decade in, it doesn't show any wear. It doesn't really have any issues about accuracy or anything like that. So I can report it's doing well. I'll come back after 10 years and I'll tell you if it's still with me. I'm pretty sure it will be. My son won't let me sell it. They'll be taking this watch off my cold dead wrist to give to him. But it's been great so far. I hope you've enjoyed this 5-year update on the Submariner. If you have, press the like, subscribe for more. You can support the channel by just sending me a comment, asking me a question, becoming a patron, getting extra videos off me every week, or even just buying me a coffee, which is a one-off tip. But if you have enjoyed this video, thank you for joining me today on my 5-year review of the Submariner. Until the next time we meet, take care and wear your watches with pride and passion, and make the memories with them. They're not designed to sit in a safe. They're designed to be on your wrist. I'll see you soon.